Hello again everyone and welcome to another Beyond All Reason video. Today we are back on Theta Crystals with a 1v1 of rAndy versus Ubivator. So we zoom in on here to rAndy, bottom left corner in red, playing as Cortex, and over here in the top right, playing as Armada, we see Ubivator as Armada. Now, instantly, straight off the bat here, both players have different start positions. We can see Ubivator actually spawned here, very close to this hill mechs. Now, this hill mechs quite often doesn't get capped, purely due to the issue of getting up there in the first place in order to actually claim it. So this has kind of given Ubivator a slower start, as we can see. rAndy has already got his factory being built, and Ubivator is still actually building his very first solar power plant. So Ubivator is going to be behind on that front, but does mean he technically has more metal to work with. Surprisingly though, choosing to go bots here, and both players actually going bots. Probably the reason for that is, as mentioned before, on this map there's a bunch of little crystal outcrops that you can use, which are all metal. Complete opposite of that. They are all energy. So we can see here 350, and as we see here, the first thing out is a Resbot 5,000, 10,000 energy there in that small two sets of crystals. So what that means is that you're going to be able to prioritize on not building energy and using your metal for units instead. It also helps you push out things like construction bots, because obviously they have a very high energy cost early on. 1,600 energy is quite a lot. And yeah, so when we look at this map, what do we expect? Well, rAndy's gone for a very defensive start in this back corner down here, meaning he's only going to have 3 avenues of possible raids with the hill. Ubivator, however, is in a bit of a more difficult spot. He's got 2 from there. He can be attacked from behind and flanked as well from basically all angles other than the cliff side. So his base is going to be a lot more exposed to raiding attacks. However, Ubivator does have a more advantage when it comes to securing this high ground along here, with his factory being in a position where he can pump out units and get the high ground pretty quickly. As you said last time we saw this map, ironically, played out completely different to how we predicted it. Last time we predicted that most of the fighting would not take place on the hillside along the top. However, that actually tended to be what happened. Most players, when we were watching it at least, ignored the bottom side entirely. And so we'll see if that happens again today, if the bottom side is going to be ignored in preference of the top hill. The top hill does give you a significant advantage. If you take control of this hill and have the high ground, as Obi-Wan said, it is over if you are on the low ground there, as the plasma range advantage you would get from being up the top would basically mean that it's going to be very, very difficult for you to push up that hill. However, with both players going bots, they only have maces where they're going to be able to actually take the use of that, and thugs from over here. However, with the transition to Tech 2, the Hounds and Sheldon will do a great job at holding that top hillside. And we can see now as well that Ubivator pushing out units now to just prioritize taking control of that hill. Some early harass looks like it's coming in here from Ubivator, doing a great job at containing. The armed metal extractors, though, going to do a fairly decent job for rAndy at kind of blocking some of the holes. He does also have, laser towers in very good positions. And unfortunately for Ubivator, not really going to be able to get much from this early scout harass. But rAndy currently being contained in his base here, taking a lot longer to get out than Ubivator. Economy-wise, though, both players fairly even at this standpoint. Now, also to speak of on this map is obviously there's this big, massive lake here, and no one ever uses it. Both players obviously have access to some form of amphibious units, and when we last saw this map played, both players actually went vehicles. So being able to move vehicles through this dip and get round to the opponent's base on a very highly undefended section just never surprisingly gets used. So maybe, hopefully, you will see some of that today. We'll probably see some form of bombing raid or aircraft from one of the players at some point. I'm going to presume we're more likely to see air come out from rAndy here, though, however, being Cortex. The use of shurikens will be very much an advantage to rAndy here. Then, well, Ubivator doesn't really have much when it comes to the air choice. Now, Grunts still having the range advantage over Pawns, but Pawns obviously do have a slight buff now, which is going to make things a bit easier for them to close that distance. But doing a great job at getting some early harass here, rAndy, if you can call 6 minutes early. Manages to get a metal extractor and a construction bot. There is a res bot though around, which is probably just going to resurrect that damage along the bottom. But a little bit of harass. We're not seeing any harass really from Ubivator that's being successful now, but this group of pawns may be able to do something. Surprising use of walls here from rAndy. You don't see walls very often at all. But with units that have direct fire, not a bad choice. Also, I believe the aim point from Metal Extractor is quite low, meaning that it's actually quite useful at defending these armed Metal Extractors. Maybe we'll see that come into play in a minute. We also see a Centurion out on the right-hand side here for Ubivator. Again, don't often see these being used, and this army is marching directly towards rAndy's commander, who has 0 units to defend him. Potentially dangerous here. Centurion will probably just get degunned if it does decide it wants to go in and attack rAndy with all these units, but it looks like he's trying to find a hole at the moment. Meanwhile, Ubivator still holding the high ground. No contention being done on that whatsoever. And another thing we don't see very often either is these metal extractors on their hills being taken. There's one there. There's a 3-point metal extractor up on that cliff as well, and a 2.4 in the central middle as well. And yeah, they mostly get ignored. We've got another 3 at the bottom here and a 2.4 there. They are made as the idea of being contention points, but they're a bit too far from the bases here for them to be really secured. Now, this map, as mentioned before, can quite easily be played in a 4v4 situation, and if that's the case, we definitely see more contention along here, and we probably see that as like a lane map then, maybe, if it being more like this. However, players seem to be really enjoying playing it as a 1v1 map, so... And here come the Grunts into the Centurion, getting mopped up very quickly, and it's taken a little while for rAndy to realize that a Centurion was there. And that's not good for him and his mainly Grunt army here. Ubivator's commander is slowly moving up. Ubivator, though, with a severe lack of energy right now. And that is putting a massive chokehold on his economy. Great little push attempt here from rAndy, but cannot make it through. It's 1 pawn managing to stop expansion efforts of rAndy. rAndy constantly just building those armed metal extractors at the moment, and that will do a fairly good job at stopping any form of harass. Pawn does manage to get killed. The Centurion construction bot rather is on very low health. And I'm surprised we're not seeing more pushing doing here by Ubivator. He does have, you know, 2 of these Centurions here, which will mop up the grunts very quickly. And he is happy to kind of just stay back. Now, looking into the base here, we see a transition to Tech 2 for rAndy and a air building, at least, for Ubivator. And considering Ubivator was having so much energy issues, that seems to be a very ballsy move. And straight into Sumos. Look how much build power, though, he has. rAndy with 12 Tech 1 constructors already. And now just building basically construction and grunt. Tech 2 economy is going to start to go up, and rAndy is happy to play the slow game here. Now this is the thing, right? With rAndy just investing in grunts means that he has not invested anywhere near as much metal as the Centurions of Ubivator. Now Ubivator has 8 Centurions, will be 8, and they are 270 metal each, as opposed to the 48 of a single pawn. And now obviously that's, you know, a lot of pawns per Centurion. And so with that metal, we can see that, you know, you can build an armed metal extractor for that cost, which when we look at how many armed metal extractors there are, that's a lot. And considering you've got to spend 50 metal anyway on that armed metal extractor, it works out that rAndy's probably saved at least a couple of thousand metal. Now gunships are coming in, and surprisingly we do see Ubivator here make the most of this top ridge line here and get some radar up and the metal extractor. Now lasers do less damage to aircraft, and you can see these armed metal extractors now not really able to do much. And this is going to force rAndy to fall massively back. Some AA units now starting to come out. AA being built urgently by rAndy. But this is a prime use case for the Banshees. We don't see them used very often. But when they do get used, if you use them to attack, you know, these exploited areas that are not defended, then that's when they come into play. Using them to attack a main base where, you know, you can pump out AA very quickly, not a good move. But for doing what he's done with them, that's their use case, and they work very well for that. And rAndy being pushed drastically back. Now, we desperately need to see some of these units coming out. Tech 2 units out for rAndy to kind of stop this push. He has a single Sumo and a single Sheldon out. Sheldons without vision are very, very not really as effective. And this Sheldon also in a bad position here, being on the left flank, getting taking a lot of damage for free there. And almost gets killed, but rAndy manages to micro it away. Sumo being Tech 2 here is going to help a little bit holding off this force, but we can see there is also a Tech 2 transition here from Ubivator. Once he's seen that Tech 2, he's built his own. A bunch of butlers out to give that additional build power without the cost of building a whole Tech 2 construction bot. And now hounds just being mass produced in order to try and hold that hillside. rAndy in a bit of a rough position here as he's losing all of his expansion along the bottom here, and he has no units really to defend against this whatsoever, and everything is heavily looking on Ubivator's side right now. Now, rAndy did have his Tech 2 up first. So, this is the experience of now obviously transitioning to Tech 2, where you've had less units for a significant amount of time while your opponent was building them. issue is, already has this single Sheldon and no other forces down here. We do start to see more Sheldons coming down. The EMP bot goes off and gets a good chunk of his units there, of Ubivator's units, and he doesn't really have stuff here to mop it up quick enough. The Fiend comes in, and the self-destruct of the Fiend does a big chunk of damage. But he does look like he's leaving these to keep walking, as he's trying to catch this bottom stuff now. And as mentioned before, Fiends have a explosive effect when you self-destruct them. Not often used, but just like LLTs, they have bonuses to self-destruct. So highly recommend you use it if you can. This mace unfortunately gets the radar, and securing of his southern front line has now completed, but at the same time, look at the chunk of hounds along this cliffside here, as we see 10 there, another 4 reinforcing behind. No radar bots yet though, which is kind of what he needs in order to get vision. As we can select this now, you can see he doesn't actually see everything that's going on here, but he's mainly aiming for static point defenses at the moment. This is looking really bad for rAndy at this point. The air lab is still in function, but has not been being any more production. You can see how much energy now Ubivator has been building, and it's still not enough to, you know, help his output. One of the EMP bots gets found, and because he's got no energy, he got that cloaky bot detected. And because we're watching this in replay, we also skipped that pause that was there. And still, energy being a significant issue for Ubivator right now. Now, it does say he's not down there in the corner. There we go, he's back now. That was weird. But army value-wise, it says that they're both very close. Yet it does very much significantly seem that Ubivator has a big advantage here. It must be the weighting on the sumos that are putting it heavily in the favor of rAndy. Now we see the issue that we spoke of. Hounds without having some form of vision, radar, or now in this instance this ghost, the hound's unable to engage. Now as soon as they get vision, you can see how much of a difference that's going to make. And the contrary just happened there, as the radar got killed of the Sheldons, and now them unable to make the good use of their distance there. Cloakybot gets too close. Good EMP there by rAndy, and that is a large chunk of hounds that have gotten stuck now. A good 7 of them, and income fiends here to chase down the hounds as well. Unfortunately, so much friendly fire taking place there, but the Fiend's going to force these hounds back over that ridgeline, and that's good for rAndy. rAndy now able to get back control of his area. Unfortunately, he still does not own the high ground, and with Tech 2 pop-up defenses coming up, it's going to be even harder to take over that high ground. A lot of cloaky bots also being built here. Pop-up defenses by rAndy also appearing along the south side as well. Kind of going into a bit of a stalemate phase now. The EMPs from both players here have massively been impactful, and yet to see how an EMP rework would affect these sorts of fights here. Don't exactly know the exact details of an EMP rework, but I believe it's going to be more of a, rather than it being a complete stun, it starts off as more of a slow, gets gradually worse slow, up until the point where they are completely stunned, which is the same sort of stun. So rather than units being stunned for like 5 seconds, they might be stunned for 3 seconds and then they're slowed for 2, sort of thing. Which would change the use of these cloaky bots a little bit, I think. You would actually have to have a lot more firepower ready to make up for the fact that they're going to be slowed instead for a bit. But that hasn't been finalized yet, so who knows what's going to happen with it yet. We don't know. Economy wise, we can see that Ubivator miles ahead right now, and that's not good. Most of that is seeming to come from this Hound reclaim. So many cloaky bots though in this area around Ubivator's Hounds. It's just waiting for those Sheldons to move a little bit closer forward. With so many spread out here, good use of them. But there are a lot of Fiends here. And Fiends will close down on those Hounds relatively quickly. They do get almost, well, they get 2 hit by this pop-up turret, but there is enough of them here that they're going to make it to the top of that hill. And the self-destruct of one of those Fiends also does an amazing job. And that is a big loss for Ubivator, as the majority of his Hound army along the north is completely wiped out. More reinforcements are on their way as he's desperately trying to push out more units. We see the starts of welders now, with that means we're going to see some sharpshooters very soon. You'll see on the map more coming out. And realistically, rAndy needs to change up his plans a little bit. He knows as soon as he sees these welders that we're going to be seeing sniper bots very, very soon. And also you see here the starting of some ticks. Now that's going to be used to help the sniper bots get vision. These Sheldons are going to get picked off very quickly by these sniper bots as soon as they come into range, and radar jammers are not going to do anything. What could he do to counter that? Well, I mean, he could maybe invest in some of these arbiters. The rocket bots, those sharpshooters rather, are very, very weak. So by sending some rockets there, if those sharpshooters aren't moving, it will do the job. However, just some cloakier, these cloaky bombs are surprisingly useful. Also doing the same sort of thing of just get close and suicide, which is what he's already doing with these Spectres. Otherwise, maybe, I mean, you can see here he's getting ready to spam some grunts himself to put them in front of his units to make the sharpshooters shoot them. You kind of got 2 options when it comes to start seeing the sharpshooters on the field. You either go, I'm going to go super tanky and tank all the shots, or the opposite. You go really light and you just try and make your sharpshooters, enemy sharpshooters, use as many of their shots as possible. Now we do see a anti-nuke for both players here, so no nuke is going to be impacting this game. And here comes another EMP, a good chunk of Hounds. However, I don't necessarily think that's going to be too much. Snipers are yet to crest the hill, and the fat boy here coming out from Ubivator is the perfect counter to this grunt swarm that we're seeing here. Great micro there from rAndy, who self-destructs 2 of his Fiends there in order to get a decent splash damage on the EMP'd units. And as we mentioned before, all the fighting is taking place on the north side. A little bit of fighting taking place on this southern side right now. Surprisingly, some proximity cameras being built here. Sumos are too slow and unable to get close enough to these Hounds to maybe get any impact at all. Meanwhile, the wall of forces on that north side and the hill is still fully under control of Ubivator. And also surprisingly seeing some gunslingers out. Oh, the Fat Boys doing their job here, but accidentally getting a bit of friendly fire there, taking out most of the sharpshooters. And rAndy, they're doing a very smart thing, manually controlling the grunts here to get really close up to the sharpshooters and forcing the Fat Boys to actually fire on his own units. And this is the big issue with Fat Boys. They do a lot of friendly fire if you're not careful with them. And unfortunately, Ubivator was not careful with them, and all of his sniper bots have been absolutely decimated by friendly fire. rAndy slowly getting pushed in along the bottom, but not too much to worry about right now. Welder's doing a decent job at just stopping any chaff getting through. But army value has now tipped back to Ubivator's side. A lot of units were lost by rAndy, and rAndy's desperately trying to get to that high ground in order to fire down on units from up there. The cloaky bot's also trying to come out here to get a bit of an impact, trying to grab this army. If he can grab this army, that's a big deal. We do actually see also a mammoth coming out. Oh, unfortunately the cloaky bot gets spotted by a random scout. And all of the res bots also getting taken out. Now I would argue at this point Ubivator still has an advantage here. There's a cloaky bot also walking around inside of the base. Now if he sees the anti-nuke, he might try and go for... Does he see the anti-nuke? He does. He might try and go to build a nuke. He is. Oh! The one unit that managed to sneak round. Oh, he's accidentally selected it though. He's pulling it back. I don't know if this is intentional or a mistake. Is he reclaiming the nuke? He's not. So I think this may be a mistake here by rAndy. Pulling this Spectre all the way back means he's not going to be able to shoot the EMP, the anti-nuke. And a good attack here from the Ubivator, although he's grouped all these forces up here, it's not very useful. Tech 3 also now being queued by Ubivator. Mammoth tanking a lot of shots here, but it's going to go down pretty quickly. And a Fat Boy also just a bit further back here doing a good job at kind of just lots and lots of splash damage. You need to get units in that clump and force that Fat Boy to friendly fire, but units are not able to get anywhere near close enough. A large amount of grunts are ready to go. Here comes an EMP though. Oh, accidentally clicked it too close to units there. And the Fat Boy's just slowly hitting those mammoths. Oh, that's a big chunk of forces EMP'd. That's a Fat Boy there as well. That is a substantial chunk of units, and as the grunt swarm flies in, they will get a lot of damage on those forces. And not only that, the plan is to get really close into those hounds. If the Fat Boys fire, they're going to friendly fire, but not needed. Great job cleaning up that force there by rAndy. And just shows that Tech 1s can still stay viable if you have enough units. And yeah, that's a good job there. Meanwhile, along the bottom, not really much progress being built. We do have an artillery which is in range and is yet not firing. Why can't do you not have a... He has a radar. Why is this not firing though? It might be because this construction bot's literally stood in the way. Oh no, it's shot then. Don't quite know why that's not firing. That's interesting. Oh, EMP bomber. Missed that transition to Tech 2. And we also see Razorbacks being built as well. Now, unfortunately for rAndy, his Nuke just got built. He's also starting a Tech 3 transition himself. See, this is what I was talking about, though. We're maybe about to see it. Yep. So, if we see Shivas being built, rAndy can go this way round and push through, ignoring all of this like build up a little bit there. And we are actually seeing a Marauder here with the intention of doing that exact same thing. Marauder can push in here behind these fences, and we'll see whose units make an impact. It's going to take a little while for... Oh, surprisingly going to catapult first. Also, not a bad choice. But this massive Marauders in the middle here, I don't know if rAndy has the things to stop them. Oh, I missed that. A Nuke actually from Ubivator here. Now, was not expecting that. He's built a Nuke and Tech 3, and here come the Marauders. Surprisingly moving into the main army, though, instead, there is a substantial amount of units right nearby ready to go. A second anti-nuke just being built off the corner of the screen there by rAndy. And now we see Ubivator desperately running away into the water, and his surprise has now gone. The bulwark almost finished on this bottom left side, and I still don't know why this Persecutor pop-up artillery is not shooting at any of these targets when it can see them. Don't quite know what's going on there. Oh, good use of EMP bots there. The catapult is finished, clearly, as that's why we see all of those sniper bots getting completely annihilated. So the second volley is coming in any second there. Oh, actually, surprisingly, shoots at the wrong target. But grunts will absorb all of that fire, and those sniper bots again will get taken out relatively quickly. Seems like mostly a transition over to welders from Ubivator, but what can we do now? Right, so this plan is not a bad plan. Ubivator got a good idea here. He's got a lot of Marauders. Marauders now are some of the weakest in terms of Tech 3s. We can see how quickly they're actually getting killed there. But the idea here is to try and distract the forces so you can get some stuff in elsewhere. Unfortunately, there's a lot of point defense everywhere along this line. And with this bulwark being built, see how quickly they're managing to take out these Marauders. And that is also then a lot of reclaim being left on the front line. Another nuke fence there as well. The bulwark does actually manage to get taken out, and this does leave a big opening now in rAndy's base. At the same time, Razorbacks starting to get in position here. Maybe building the two catapults might have been a mistake. Shiva's heading down to the bottom to try and do some damage control. But rAndy's comm is down there and is currently uncloaked as well. You may be able to get a good cheeky D-gun, but you're going to need a lot of luck to manage to wipe out all of that, and another Razorback on top of that. We also see a Ballista being built here, a long-range plasma cannon in the bottom right, and 2 Tech 3 labs now for Ubivator. And a very good use of Nuke here. We see there's still a Nuke available for rAndy, who is yet to use it. firing on this hill might not have been a bad shout, but Shivas will mop up this push through on the bottom, but this Razorback moving close to the tech-free lab is very dangerous. This is not good for rAndy here. It's maybe the beginning of the end. All build power now gone on the tech-free lab, whilst Ubivator still has 2. And rAndy been on the heavy defense now for such a long time. Resbots are already out on the field resurrecting all the stuff that was killed. Which that may be what he needs to turn it around, but almost some friendly fire on the EMPs there as the spybots come over the hill. But look at the sheer quantity of units for Ubivator. These tech-free catapults are not going to be able to do much as they get EMP'd into oblivion. Now rAndy does have quite a few of these Shivas, but they're not yet to make any impact other than defending. And there we go, another catapult EMP'd. Having no air of his own, rAndy unable to contest these air bombers effectively. And this is not looking good. rAndy massively on the back foot, behind in economy, behind in build power, behind in army value. Doing a great job at holding off as long as he can. Some very good stealthy bot use here. Unfortunately, that bot gets detected. Being forced further and further back. But long-range plasma cannons now built at the front line along the bottom. And still no use of these nukes. rAndy with 2 nukes ready to go. Just churning away his resources using 8.3 metal a second here and 1,000 energy. And not using them at all. Destroying this army up here or even making a hole in the bottom here might be of very valuable use, but unfortunately he's too focused on defending every single flank that he has. And right now rAndy just needs to thin the herd a bit. Unfortunately, sniper bots are so effective at dealing with high health units that he needs some way of clearing out these snipers. As you can see there, the volleys of that absolutely destroyed that Shiva. Attempting here maybe to use this catapult as a way of making a hole. And maybe luckily for him, yep, they unfortunately walked into exactly where the catapult was firing. And it's a bit rough for rAndy right now. He's trying to resbot as much stuff as he can. But unfortunately, some friendly fire actually taking place here as well, which is causing him to have some issues. A lot of idle engineers, though, for rAndy as well. Oof. And the long-range plasma cannons also taking a big chunk out of all those res bots are there. I think it's just a matter of time. rAndy needs to make some big change, some impact. He's got the nuke, he could do that, he could make a big hole somewhere. Unfortunately, he can't really hit the economy. Also, we're seeing a preparation here for over-nuking, as Ubivator here with 2 additional nuke launchers, as well as already 2 missiles ready in the chamber of his other nuke. Quite accurately said that this game is probably in Ubivator's hands here. Where is Ubivator's comm though? Now, Ubivator's comm currently not protected by AA. Not AA. Not protected by AA or anti-nuke. Which could be a big problem if rAndy knew that. The Shivas now taking a beating from all of these Razorbacks. This beautiful tier 3 push in from Ubivator will probably be the end of rAndy here. He's desperately pushing some Shivas around the back, surprisingly still building catapults as well on a regular basis. EMP goes off actually, which we just missed next to the tier 3 lab. rAndy about to be very, very ballsy here. And unfortunately, his comm gets spotted, and with that, Ubivator takes the win. It was going to be very difficult for rAndy to bring that back, but well played both players, and I'll see you guys next time.